The city was dying, and so were its people. The sky above was thick with smoke, and the ground was covered in dust. Once, this alien city had been full of music, trade, and laughter. Now it was only silence, broken by the sound of weak footsteps and hungry cries. The markets were still open, but they no longer sold dreams, only survival. In the middle of those broken streets walked a mother, her cloak torn and her face pale. She was not just a woman. She was a mother of 2 young daughters. Their small hands clutched her arms as they stumbled beside her. Their eyes were wide, not with hope, but with hunger. They had not eaten in 2 days, and the last piece of bread had been given to the youngest. The mother's lips were cracked, but she did not complain. All she wanted was to keep her children alive. Her daughters whispered behind her as they walked. "Mother, will we eat today?" the younger asked, her voice weak. The mother forced a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Yes, my child. You will eat," but she had no food. She had no money. She had nothing left to trade. The market stalls glowed faintly with strange lights. Alien traders sat behind their counters, their eyes cold, their mouths twisted in greed. They knew the people were desperate. They knew mothers and fathers would give anything to keep their children alive. And the traders were ready to take everything. The mother stopped in front of one stall where dried bread and a small jug of water sat behind glass. Her daughters looked at it as if it were treasure. Their mouths opened slightly, their breaths fast. The trader, a tall alien with silver skin, leaned forward. "What will you give me for this?" he asked, his voice sharp. The mother pulled out the last coin she had hidden in her cloak. It was small, worthless compared to the price of food. The trader laughed and pushed it away. "Not enough. Everyone is hungry. You must pay with something greater." Her hand shook. She had nothing. Not jewelry, not gold, not tools. Her house was already gone. Her husband was lost in the wars. She had only herself and her daughters. The trader's eyes narrowed, studying her. "There is one thing left. I will take your soul." The crowd around the stall went silent. A whisper passed through the air like wind. A soul was the last thing anyone could give. Without it, a person could still walk, breathe, and talk, but their eyes would be hollow, their heart empty, and their love broken. The mother's knees weakened. She looked down at her daughters. They were staring at the bread with tears in their eyes. Their cheeks were sunken, their ribs showing through their thin clothes. She swallowed hard. "If I give you my soul, my daughters will eat?" The trader smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "They will eat tonight." Her daughters clung to her arms, sensing something was wrong. "Mother, don't," the elder one whispered. "Please don't," but the mother's heart was already breaking. She had no choice. What was a soul compared to the lives of her children? What good was her spirit if they died tomorrow? Her hands trembled as she placed them on the counter. The trader pulled out a crystal sphere, glowing faintly. He muttered words in a language older than the city. The light inside the crystal grew brighter as he reached toward her chest. The crowd leaned closer, silent and fearful. The mother gasped as she felt something being pulled from deep inside her. It was not pain like a wound, it was worse. It was emptiness. Her body shook, her breath caught, and then her eyes went dark and glassy. The crystal glowed brighter, now full of her essence. The trader laughed softly and pushed the bread and water forward. "Take it, your children live. But you, mother, are no longer whole." Her daughters grabbed the food eagerly, their small hands shaking as they tore pieces of bread and drank from the jug. For the first time in days, their stomachs were full. They cried with relief, hugging each other. But when they turned to their mother, something had changed. She stood still, her face blank, her smile gone. She touched their hair gently, but her eyes were hollow. She looked at them as if they were strangers. The elder daughter burst into tears. "Mother, it's us. Please say something." The mother opened her mouth, but her words were empty. "Eat," she said softly, almost like a whisper of wind. "Eat and live." The younger one clung to her hand, but the warmth was gone. It was like holding a statue. The daughters cried, but they ate because they were too hungry to stop. Around them, the crowd whispered again. Some shook their heads in pity. Others only stared, used to the cruelty of the market. And above it all, the trader held the crystal high, the mother's soul burning inside, ready to be sold to the highest bidder. The deal was done. The daughters had food, but their mother was no longer the same. The desperate bargain was sealed. Far away from the starving city, on the edge of space, a human trader sat inside his small ship. His vessel was not grand like the cruisers of rich merchants, nor armed like the warships that guarded borders. It was an old freighter patched with metal plates and humming with tired engines. But it carried something unusual, something that disturbed him deeply. On his desk lay a crystal sphere, glowing faintly with a golden light. Inside that light something moved like smoke, fragile and restless. It was the soul of another being. The trader stared at it in silence. He had bought many things in his life: spices, fuel, old machines, broken weapons. But never this. When the message arrived from the alien market offering him the sphere, he thought it was just another trinket. But the moment he touched it, he felt something different. A pain, a cry, an echo of a mother's love torn away. He pushed back his chair, restless. What kind of people would sell their soul? He whispered to himself. His voice trembled, not with fear but with sorrow. The human had known hunger once. Long ago, when he was young, the colonies were poor. His own mother had given him her share of food, telling him she was not hungry even when she was. He had seen her weaken but still smile for him. That memory never left him. And now, staring at the sphere, he felt the same ache but sharper. The ship's console beeped, showing the location of the trade, the alien city where the soul was taken. He leaned forward, scanning the details. The report spoke of famine, of children dying in the streets, of families broken apart just to survive. And now this soul, this mother, he could have kept it. Souls were rare, valuable, and strange collectors paid well for them. A single trade could make him rich for months. Yet when he held it in his palm, it did not feel like treasure. It felt like guilt. The crystal pulsed faintly as if it was alive. The human thought he heard something, a whisper, a voice calling out for daughters. He closed his fist around it, his jaw tightening. No, he said firmly, this doesn't belong to me. For hours he sat in silence, debating. Logic told him to sell it. Instinct told him to return it. But deeper than both, something in his heart, the part that still remembered his own mother's sacrifice, told him the truth. He rose from his chair and set a course. The engines roared to life and the freighter turned toward the alien world. The journey would not be easy. The city was harsh and humans were not always welcome there. Traders saw them as outsiders, as meddlers, but none of that mattered now. He kept his eyes on the glowing sphere as the stars blurred past the ship's windows. Whoever you are, he whispered, I'll bring this back to you. Not because I owe you, but because no child deserves to see their mother hollow. Hours passed. The freighter crept closer to the dying city. From orbit, it looked like a scar on the planet's surface. Broken towers, dim lights, and smoke rising into the sky. He could almost feel the hunger even from space. The human tightened his grip on the controls. He had dealt with smugglers, warlords, and mercenaries before, but this was different. This was not about trade. This was about a promise he had never spoken, yet could not ignore. As the ship entered the planet's atmosphere, the crystal pulsed again, brighter now, as if it knew it was close to home. The human stared at it, a strange feeling in his chest. For the first time in years, he felt like he was carrying something sacred. The city waited below, full of shadows and whispers. Somewhere inside, a mother sat empty, and two daughters clung to her, not knowing if she would ever love them again. The human ship descended slowly, its engines echoing across the ruins. The traders in the market would see him as a fool. But he didn't care. He had made his choice. The buyer was no longer a buyer. He was a giver, and soon the soul would return to where it belonged. The house was small, built from stone and scraps of metal. Once it might have been warm, but now it was silent and cold. Inside sat two young daughters, their tiny bodies wrapped in thin blankets. Their stomachs were full for the first time in days, but their hearts were heavy. They had eaten the bread and drunk the water their mother brought, yet something felt wrong. Something felt broken. The elder daughter, only a few years older than the younger, kept watching her mother. The woman sat by the wall, her eyes empty, her face pale. She moved like a shadow, answering only when asked, and even then her voice was hollow. The younger one crawled closer, tugging at her mother's hand. "Mother, are you tired?" she asked softly. Her eyes searched for warmth, for that smile she used to see. The mother turned slowly, her hand resting on the girl's head. Her touch was gentle, but it carried no soul. "Eat," she whispered, the same word she had spoken in the market. Just one word, like an echo of a voice that once had life. The elder daughter's throat tightened. She remembered her mother's laugh, The way she used to hum while cooking, the way her eyes shone when she told bedtime stories. Now all of that was gone, stolen. She doesn't see us, the elder whispered to her sister. She looks at us, but it's like we're not her daughters anymore. The younger shook her head quickly, refusing to believe. No, she loves us. She has to. Her voice cracked, tears running down her face. The elder wrapped her arms around the younger, holding her close. Together they stared at their mother, who now sat silently, her gaze lost on the dark wall. The food was gone, the hunger was eased, but the emptiness inside the room was worse than before. That night the daughters lay beside their mother, hoping she would tell them a story like she used to. But no words came. The house stayed quiet, broken only by the sound of wind slipping through cracks in the wall. The younger girl whispered in the dark, "Do you think she gave it away? Like father gave away his tools?" The elder frowned. She had overheard the whispers at the market. She had seen the trader raise the glowing crystal, her mother's soul burning inside it. She did not fully understand what a soul was, but she knew it was important. She knew it was the part that made a mother truly a mother. "Yes," she whispered back. "She gave it away for us." The younger cried quietly into her sister's shoulder. "I want it back. I don't want bread. I don't want water. I want mother." The elder shut her eyes tightly, her chest aching with a pain too heavy for a child. She wanted the same thing, but she didn't know how to fix it. She was only a girl, small and powerless, trapped in a world where even souls were sold like fruit in the market. But deep inside her, a spark grew. If someone had taken her mother's soul, then someone could return it. The thought gave her a strange, fragile hope. The next morning, the daughters followed their mother as she moved slowly through the ruined streets. People whispered as she passed. Some pitied her, others sneered. To them, she was no longer a woman, only an empty shell. The elder clenched her fists, anger burning inside her small chest. "They don't know her," she whispered to her sister. "She's still our mother. And one day we'll bring her back." The younger nodded, though tears still clung to her cheeks. And somewhere in the distance, above the city's smoke-filled skies, a human ship was descending, carrying the glowing crystal, their mother's soul, closer and closer. The daughters did not know it yet, but the spark of hope they felt would soon grow into something real. The human's freighter broke through the smoky skies, its engines rumbling over the ruined city. From above, he saw broken towers, collapsed bridges, and streets full of thin shadows moving slowly like ghosts. The closer he came, the more he could feel it. Hunger, fear, and despair pressed against the windows of his ship like a living fog. He landed on the edge of the market, where traders gathered around broken stalls. The hiss of his ship's doors opening drew their attention. Heads turned, whispers spread. Humans rarely came here, and when they did, they were either troublemakers or fools. The man stepped out, carrying nothing but a small case. Inside it, wrapped carefully, was the glowing crystal, the stolen soul. The moment he walked into the market, he felt the eyes on him. Some curious, some hostile, some greedy. He kept his gaze steady, ignoring them, searching for the woman whose essence pulsed in the crystal. It didn't take long to find her. She sat near a crumbling wall with her daughters beside her. Her body was there, but her spirit was not. Her head rested against the stone, her eyes dull, staring at nothing. The daughters leaned against her, trying to pull her close, whispering words she no longer seemed to understand. The human's chest tightened. He had imagined this moment, but the reality was heavier than he thought. He remembered his own mother's tired face, remembered the nights when she went hungry just so he could eat. The pain of that memory struck him again. He tightened his grip on the case and walked forward. The crowd parted slightly, murmuring. "The human, the buyer," they whispered. "He has come to take more." The elder daughter saw him first. Her small eyes widened and she pulled her sister closer. "Stay back," she whispered to the younger one. "It's him. He's here." The younger girl trembled, clinging tightly to her mother's arm. The human stopped a few steps away. He did not want to frighten them, but his presence already carried the weight of suspicion. He crouched down, lowering himself to their level. "I'm not here to take," he said quietly, his voice gentle. "I'm here to give." The elder daughter frowned, confused. "You already took her. You took her soul." Her voice shook with both fear and anger. The human slowly opened the case. Inside, the crystal glowed brightly, pulsing as if it recognized the family. The daughters gasped, their eyes fixed on it. Even the hollow mother turned her head slightly, her gaze flickering for the first time. "This belongs to her," the man said. "I didn't want to keep it. I came to return it." The younger daughter's lips parted, hope shining in her eyes. She reached forward, but the elder pulled her back. "No," she whispered. "It's a trick. They don't give back what they take." The human shook his head, pain in his voice. "I don't care what the market says. Some things should never be sold. A mother's soul is one of them." His words carried across the crowd, and the traders nearby hissed with anger. One of them, tall and sharp-eyed, stepped forward. "That crystal was bought fair," he said coldly. "No one returns a soul. If he breaks the deal, he breaks the market." The human stood slowly, still holding the case. His jaw tightened, but his eyes stayed calm. "Then let it break." The air grew heavy. The daughters held their breath, waiting. The mother's empty gaze flickered again, as if she was fighting to return. The human knelt once more and placed the crystal gently on the ground, sliding it toward the family. The glow spilled across the dirt, lighting their faces. The younger daughter reached out, her hand trembling. "Mother, it's yours." For the first time in days, the mother's fingers moved on their own, reaching forward, drawn by something deep within. The crowd gasped, stepping back. The human's heart pounded. He knew this was only the beginning. The traders would not allow such defiance to go unpunished. But for now, he had done what he came for. He had placed hope back into the hands of those who needed it most. The market was no longer quiet. The moment the human placed the glowing crystal near the family, a ripple of noise spread through the crowd. Whispers turned into shouts, shouts turned into threats. Traders pushed forward, their faces dark with anger. "You can't do this," one hissed, his voice sharp like a blade. "A deal once made is final." Another slammed his fist against the stall. "The soul is ours. You return it, you break the law of trade." The daughters clutched their mother tighter, their small eyes wide with fear. The crystal still pulsed faintly on the ground, glowing like a heart trying to beat again. The mother's hand hovered above it, shaking, but she could not yet claim it. Something, fear, weakness, or the weight of the market's power held her back. The human straightened slowly, his shadow falling over the family. His eyes moved across the crowd, calm but firm. "I don't care about your law," he said. "Some trades are wrong. Some deals should never exist." The words hit the crowd like fire. The traders roared in protest, their anger mixing with fear. If one human broke the rule, others might follow. And if others followed, the market would lose control. A tall dealer with silver skin, the same one who had taken the bargain, stepped forward. His eyes burned with greed and fury. "You are a fool, human," he snarled. "Do you think you can walk into our city and change our rules? Do you think your kindness will feed the rest of them?" The human didn't move. "No, but it will save her. And that is enough." The dealer's hand twitched. With a sharp motion, he signaled to two guards nearby. They stepped forward, carrying jagged weapons made of bone and steel. The daughters gasped, clinging to each other. The mother, still empty-eyed, tried to rise but stumbled, too weak to fight. The human moved without hesitation. He placed himself between the guards and the family, his stance steady. His hands were empty, but his presence was stronger than any weapon. "You'll have to go through me first," he said quietly. The guards sneered, circling him like predators. The crowd pressed closer, eager to see blood, eager to see if the human had the strength to back his words. The market had always fed on fear, and now it smelled conflict. The elder daughter pulled her sister back, whispering urgently, "Stay behind him. Don't move," the younger girl's voice cracked. "But they'll hurt him." The elder squeezed her hand tightly. "He's not afraid. Look at him." "He won't let them." The guards lunged. The human ducked, swift despite the weight of his old jacket. He caught one guard's arm and shoved him aside, sending the weapon clattering to the ground. The second slashed forward, but the human stepped in close, grabbing the wrist before the blade could fall. The struggle was brief but fierce, the man's determination stronger than brute strength. The crowd roared with shock. No outsider had ever stood against the market so boldly. The silver-skinned dealer's face twisted with rage. "Enough!" he shouted. "This is our law. If he breaks it, the city will burn." The human pushed the second guard back and stood tall again, his chest rising with deep breaths. He looked directly at the dealer, his voice low but clear enough for all to hear. "Then let it burn," he said. The words silenced the crowd. For a moment, even the wind seemed to stop. The traders, the buyers, the hungry, All stared at the human who dared to defy what none had ever questioned. The crystal on the ground pulsed brighter, as if responding to his courage. The mother's hand shook again, closer now, almost touching. The daughter's eyes shone with hope and fear at once. The elder whispered, "He's fighting for us." For her. The silver-skinned dealer's mouth twisted into a cruel smile. "You've made your choice, human. And now so have I." He raised his hand, signaling more guards from the shadows. The ground trembled with footsteps as they closed in. The confrontation was no longer just about one soul. It was about the future of the market itself. And at the center of it all, the human stood like a wall, refusing to step aside. The circle around the human tightened. More guards stepped forward, weapons gleaming in the dim market light. The crowd pressed closer, eager to see what would happen. Whispers rippled like waves. "The human will die. The human is mad." No one defies the market and lives, but the man did not move back. His boots stayed firm in the dirt. His eyes never left the silver-skinned dealer, the one who had stolen the mother's soul. The daughters clung to their mother, who still sat half-broken, her hand trembling near the glowing crystal. The elder girl's voice was small but steady. "He won't leave us." The younger one nodded, tears in her eyes. "He's fighting for her," the silver dealer sneered. "You are brave, human. Brave but foolish. Walk away now and we may let you keep your life. Leave the soul, it belongs to the market." The human shook his head slowly. "No, it belongs to her. Always to her." He pointed to the mother, his voice heavy with conviction. "What you stole was not a bargain, it was theft hidden as trade." "I won't allow it." Laughter rippled among the dealers. "And what will you pay, human?" The silver-skinned one mocked. "Do you have enough wealth to undo what is sealed? Do you think kindness is currency here?" The human reached into his jacket and pulled out a small metal card, scratched and worn from years of use. It was his trader's pass, the only thing that gave him rights in ports across the stars. Without it, he was nothing, no access, no safety, no home. He held it high for all to see. "Take this," he said. "It is my identity, my credits, my future. I will give it all if it means she can have her soul back." The crowd gasped. To give away a trader's pass was to cut away your own life. The dealers stared at him stunned, before some began to laugh again, louder now. "You'd trade your own future," one jeered, "for a woman you don't even know?" "Yes," the human answered without hesitation. The laughter faltered. His voice carried weight because it was not a boast. It was truth. The silver-skinned dealer narrowed his eyes. Why would you risk so much for her?" The man looked at the daughters, their small faces pressed against their mother's arm. He saw their fear, their hope, and in them, he saw himself as a child, hungry, clinging to his own mother, who had given up everything so he could live. "Because once, someone did the same for me," he said quietly, "and I will not let that sacrifice be forgotten." The words hung in the air like a blade. The crowd grew silent, no longer mocking, no longer jeering. They watched him, trying to understand. A human giving everything for someone else? It did not fit their world of greed and bargains. It did not fit the rules they had lived by. The dealer's smile faded. For the first time, doubt flickered across his sharp face. Still, he hissed, "Even if you pay, the market loses. If one soul is returned, others will demand the same. Do you think you can carry that burden?" The man stood taller, his hand still holding the glowing pass. "If one soul is saved today, it is enough." The crystal on the ground pulsed brighter, as if answering him. The mother's hand, weak but determined, moved closer. The daughters held their breath. The silver-skinned dealer stared at the man, at the card, at the crystal. His jaw tightened. He could take the pass and still refuse the soul, but something in the human's eyes made him hesitate. That steady fire, that refusal to bend, unsettled him. The other traders muttered nervously. This was not how the market worked. This was not how deals ended. The human dropped the pass into the dust at the dealer's feet. "Take it," he said, "but give her back what you stole. Right here. Right now." The silence was heavy, filled with tension sharp enough to cut. The daughter's eyes widened with hope and fear. The mother's trembling fingers finally touched the crystal. And in that moment, the choice no longer belonged only to the dealers. It belonged to the human, to the daughters, and to the soul that refused to stay stolen. The market had never seen such defiance before. And it was not finished yet. The crystal pulsed like a living heart, its glow washing over the dirt floor of the market. The mother's trembling fingers touched it at last. For a moment nothing happened, just silence broken only by the sound of the crowd breathing. Then slowly the light grew brighter, brighter than any lantern in the square. The daughters shielded their eyes, but they did not move. They clung to each other, whispering, "It's her. It's coming back." The silver-skinned dealer hissed, stepping back as the glow spilled over his boots. He wanted to shout, to stop it, but the power was no longer in his hands. The human sacrifice had changed something, shifted the weight of the deal. The crystal no longer answered to the market. It answered to love. The mother gasped as the light entered her chest. Her body shook violently, her empty eyes widening. The crowd leaned forward, stunned. For days she had been hollow, but now color returned to her cheeks. Tears filled her eyes, and her breath came fast and heavy, like someone waking from a long nightmare. "Mother." The daughters cried, rushing to her. She fell forward, wrapping them in her arms, pulling them close, pressing her face into their hair. Her sobs shook her shoulders, but her voice was no longer hollow. It was alive, raw, filled with love. "My children, my little ones, forgive me. I'm here. I'm here." The daughters wept with her, holding on so tightly it seemed they would never let go again. The crowd stared, speechless. Some eyes filled with awe, others with envy, but no one could deny what they had seen. A soul returned, a family healed, something that was never supposed to happen. The human watched silently, his chest heavy with relief. For the first time since touching the crystal, he felt peace. He had kept his word. He had brought her back, but peace was short. The silver-skinned dealer's face twisted with rage. His law had been broken, his market defied. He raised his voice, sharp and venomous. "This is treachery. If one human can break the deal, then every bargain is weak. The market will crumble," the other traders murmured, torn between anger and fear. Some agreed with him, but others glanced at the reunited family with something like shame in their eyes. They had taken too much for too long. The human stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Then let it crumble. What kind of law feeds on mothers and steals from children? If that's your market, maybe it deserves to fall." His words cut through the noise like a blade. The silence that followed was heavier than any roar. The dealer bared his teeth, but when his gaze fell on the man's steady eyes, his courage faltered. The guards behind him shifted uneasily. For the first time, the market had been challenged not with fear, but with compassion, and compassion had won. The mother rose slowly, still holding her daughters close. Her eyes, now alive with fire, locked on the dealer. Her voice shook, but it was strong. "You thought you took everything from me, but you were wrong. A soul given in love cannot be stolen forever. It will always find its way back." The crowd erupted in whispers again. Some nodded. Some looked away in shame. The seeds of change had been planted. The human turned to leave. His past was gone, his future uncertain, but his steps were steady. He had not come for reward, and he asked for none. He had given what he could, and that was enough. But as he reached the edge of the market, small footsteps followed. "Wait!" the elder daughter cried, running after him. Her little sister clutched her hand, and their mother followed close behind, her eyes shining with gratitude. "You saved us," the elder said, breathless. "We will never forget." The younger one held out a piece of bread, the only food left. "It's yours," she said simply. The human smiled faintly, shaking his head. "Keep it. You'll need it more than me." The mother placed a hand on his arm, her voice breaking. "You gave me back more than life. You gave me back myself. Whatever happens, you will not be forgotten." The man nodded once, then stepped away, his silhouette fading into the smoke of the ruined city. Behind him, whispers spread about a human who returned what no one else would, a human who stood against the market and won. And as the family held each other close, the story of compassion began to move through the streets like fire. A quiet rebellion against greed. For the first time in years, the city felt a spark of hope.